Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 18th chapter, text number 9, chapter titled The Battle Between Lord Bor and Hiranyaksha. Paranushaktam tapaniyopakalpam Mahagadam kanchana chitradamsham Marmani abhikshnam pratudantam duruktaihi Prachandamanyuh prahasamstambabhashe. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The demon who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. Purport. The Lord could have chastised the demon immediately, while the demon was deriding the Lord with ill words. But the Lord tolerated him to please the demigods and to show that they should not be afraid of demons while discharging their duties. Therefore, his toleration was displayed mainly to drive away the fears of the demigods, who should know that the Lord is always present to protect them. The demons' derision of the Lord was just like the barking of dogs. The Lord did not care about it, since he was doing his own work in delivering the earth from the midst of the water. Materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So this chapter, entitled The Battle Between Lord Bor and Hiranyaksha. So this particular verse is, you can see this photograph, how the fight is going on. Lord Varahadev is here and Hiranyaksha is here. So this is the photograph, this is that, and you can see the Mother Earth here. Lord has lifted the earth and placed it in the Garbhodaka ocean. You can see the earth is also here and the fight is going on. So the battle is going on, not going on, just about to begin. And here the description of the demon is mentioned. These two, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, were the doorkeepers. We have been reading from the last few verses, and they have come down to engage in fight with the Supreme Lord. And Hiranyaksha, after searching the Lord, we just read previously, he was trying to find out where is the Lord. He went and met Varuna in the depths of the ocean, and Varuna said, yes, the Lord will be, he gave him, the Lord will be somewhere here. And then he went and asked Narada, where is the Lord? I want to fight with the Lord. This is what Hiranyaksha's feeling was. And then finally, when he went to the Garbhodaka ocean, he saw the Lord coming out from the Garbhodaka ocean, lifting Mother Earth. Mother Earth had gotten dislocated and she had fallen into the depths of the ocean because of the demons, Hiranyaksha. And so the Lord was protecting the earth, lifting the earth out of the ocean and was trying to place it back. And that was the time when Hiranyaksha saw the Supreme Lord with Mother Earth on his tusk coming out. And at that time, here it is said, the Lord tolerated his piercing ill words. At that time, Hiranyaksha had mentioned many ill words, which we saw in some of the previous verses. And that's the setup here. So, here, it is described that the demon's description is described. And it is mentioned here that he had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body. This is how the demon was decorated for the fight. Lot of gold, ornaments, armor, and bangles. And here in the purport, Prabhupada is writing that materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here we are finding how, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, if we possess too much of gold, this is the kind of thinking and feeling that comes inside us is quite different from the kind of thinking and feeling a devotee should be situated who is serious about engaging in Krishna consciousness or who is serious about his spiritual life. Because gold contaminates a person. And how this happened in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that when Parikshit Maharaj was ruling, at that time it was just the beginning of Kali Yuga. The Dwapar Yuga had just ended, Lord Krishna had just departed. At that time, he saw Kali Purusha. He was actually a Shudra. Kali Purusha is a Shudra. He was dressed in a king and he was trying to beat a bull and a cow. The bull represents the father of religion and the cow, the mother earth. So Parikshit Maharaj saw, and this was the first time that Parikshit Maharaj saw in his kingdom such a scene. Because during his time everything was going on very well. He had the blessing of Lord Krishna. So he saw a Shudra dressed as a king beating a bull and a cow. And the bull stands on 4 legs. When he was beating the bull was standing only on 1 leg. And it was trembling out of fear. And that 1 leg that it was standing on is called the leg of truthfulness. Imagine, and if a bull has to stand on 1 leg, will it be able to stand? That 1 leg will also he'll be wobbling, such a big animal standing on 1 leg. So it is said in Kali Yuga, this truthfulness is also declining. And at the end of Kali Yuga, there will be no truthfulness. It is because of this truthfulness that Kali Yuga, that there is still some things happening in Kali Yuga. And mother cow, she was also crying, she was shedding tears, and she was also very worried. So when Maharaj Parikshit saw that this person is beating the bull and the cow, he said, "Who are you? How can you beat a bull and a cow and you're dressed as a king?" He had disguised himself as a king. And the duty of the king is actually to protect. And these poor creatures, they were alone, they had no protectors. Instead of protecting them, you are beating them without my knowledge. So he pulled out a sword and he was about to kill Kali Purusha for having committed this offense of trying to kill these 2 innocent animals. So when he pulled out his sword to kill Kali Purusha, at that time because Maharaj Parikshit was very powerful king, he was the emperor of the whole world at that time. So at that time Kali Purusha surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit. And he said, "I'm very sorry, please forgive me." So then Maharaj Parikshit, because the Kali Purusha surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit, for committing this crime of beating the cow and the bull, the father of religion and Mother Earth, because he surrendered, Maharaj Parikshit forgave him. He said, okay, because you are a surrendered soul, because you have surrendered to me, in spite of the offense that you were committing, I will spare your life. The actual punishment for this is you should be killed. But I will spare your life because you have surrendered, but you cannot stay in my kingdom. You have to go out of my kingdom. Now Kali Purusha, where will he stay? So his kingdom, Maharaj Parikshit's kingdom, was the entire world at that time. So Kali Purusha asked Maharaj Parikshit, you please tell me where to stay, because anywhere I go, I will be seeing your swords, your sword, your bow and arrow, and I'll always be afraid of you. So can you please give me a place where I can stay with your permission, so that I am not afraid of you, because I've surrendered. So because he had surrendered, Kali Purusha, that Shudra dressed in the form of a king, because he had surrendered, Maharaj Parikshit told him, okay, I'll give you 4 places where you can stay. He's giving him 4 places to stay. Who's going to stay? Kali Purusha. Kali Purusha, so it's evil, right? He's trying to kill a bull and a cow, and we are supposed to protect the bull and the cow. So which were the 4 places he gave him? Places where there's intoxication, places where there'll be gambling, places where there'll be illicit connection of men and women, and places where there will be animal slaughter. He says you can go and stay in these 4 places. Now at that time, during the reign of Maharaj Parikshit, there were no such places existing, because he was a very powerful ruler. He ensured that there was purity. He ensured that no such sinful activities are happening in his presence and his kingdom. So Kali Purusha comes back and he says, my dear master, my dear king, I do not find any such place existing in your kingdom right now. So can you please give me another place where I can stay? So at that time, Maharaj Parikshit gives him a 5th place, and that place is, he says, you can stay in a place where there is gold. Which place? A place where there is gold. And then, so Srimad Bhagavatam mentions that wherever there is gold, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, gold encourages 5 things. Number 1, it encourages falsity. Because you'll always want to possess gold, because gold is materially it has material value. So you'll speak false, you'll be untruthful. So it promotes falsity, it promotes intoxication. Why intoxication? Because material wealth is maddening. It intoxicates you. So it promotes intoxication, it promotes lust. You want more and more. You'll not be happy with a small amount, you'll want more. And then when you have more, you'll want more. So it promotes lust, it promotes envy. You may not be having, if somebody else has, you'll become envious. It promotes envy, and it promotes enmity. So, falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, enmity. These are the things that comes along with gold. So, if we want Krishna, we have to be free from all these material possessions. Kunti Maharani is praying, Namo Akinchana Vittaya. We all want to possess some property, Vittaya. Now what kind of property shall we possess? If you're having some material properties, we'll always be dependent on them, and then we'll forget Krishna. Of course, engaging the material properties or engaging material wealth in the service of Krishna is different. Then it is altogether different. But engaging material wealth or material objects in gratification of our senses doesn't go hand in hand with Krishna consciousness. So, Namo Akinchana Vittaya. Vittaya means property. If you want Krishna as your property, the real property that we should possess is Radha Krishna, love of Radha Krishna, their lotus feet. then we have to become akinchana. Akinchana means free from all material possessions. Then we have Krishna as our property. So, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, both, Hiranyakashipu is Hiranyaksha's brother. Hiranyakashipu, literally what does Hiranyakashipu means? Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bedding. So demons or materialistic people, these are the two characteristics. One, they would like to possess a large quantity of gold, of wealth, and they also want a lot of sense pleasure. But spiritual life means giving up sense pleasure and satisfying the senses of Krishna. Atmendriyar priti vancha tar bole kam. If you want to satisfy Atmendriya, if you want to satisfy your senses, then that is called lust. Just like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. They wanted to possess all these things. It is said, why did Mother Earth fall? How did Mother Earth get dislocated from its orbit? It is said that Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, how do you get gold? You get gold by drilling the earth, right? Gold is available in the earth. They had tried to dig so much gold from Mother Earth, and they had made so many holes on the surface of Mother Earth that the gravitational force had gotten dislocated. Imagine there is a gravitational force, right? That gravitational force is for this whole solid Mother Earth. Now if you dig beyond proportion, then what will happen? The dimension of the Earth slightly gets altered and the gravitational forces get altered, and because of that, the Earth had fallen, it had gotten dislocated from its orbit and it had fallen. So you can imagine if you have to dislocate the Earth to an extent that the orbit, the gravitational forces gets disturbed, how much Earth would have been dug and how much gold would have been taken out. You can just estimate, you can just imagine. So, all for sense gratification. So, Atmendriyar priti vancha tarabole kam, and Krishnendriyar priti ichha dhare premanam. And if you want to satisfy Krishna's senses, then that is love. So, devotees means trying to satisfy the senses of Krishna, engaging everything in Krishna's service. So here, there are 2 points, there are 2 important points that is mentioned. One is about this gold. Materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes. And the other point that is mentioned in this purport is the Lord tolerated Hiranyaksha's ill-piercing words. Now, what were his ill-piercing words? We saw in some of the previous verses. He said, I am going to kill you. I am going to, there are many other words, abusive words he had used. He had used abhavaya, that is killing, and by deception, and many other words he had used in the previous verse. And the Lord tolerated, imagine a demon is calling out the Lords by various ill-piercing words and the Lord is tolerating. Why did the Lord tolerate and what is he teaching us? So here in the purport it is mentioned that the Lord tolerated all his words because the Lord had a higher duty to perform. While the Lord was lifting the Mother Earth from the depths of the ocean, the Garbhodaka ocean, at that time Hiranyaksha was trying to speak many abusive words. But the Lord it did not matter to the Lord much. Because for him, lifting the earth out of its fallen position in the Garbhodaka ocean and keeping it back in its orbit is more important than anything else. So here we learn that if you want to practice, tolerance is a very important quality, right? So if we want to be tolerant, we just have to remember at the back of my mind that what am I supposed to be doing now? What is my duty? Every moment we have a duty to perform, right? And our duty is to either be doing our service or sadhana or to be engaged in Krishna consciousness. So whenever such provoking situations come, where there is a need, where there could be a need where your tolerance may be at stake, you just have to remember your higher duty. Life is very precious. If somebody says something to me, like the piercing words that Hiranyaksha said, I have a higher duty to perform. And that is what will help us to be tolerant. How tolerant the Lord was in many cases, in many instances in the past also we have seen. There are so many pastimes where, this is one of the pastimes where the Lord demonstrated His tolerance. There are so many pastimes. Like once when Bhrigu Muni went to test Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, Bhrigu Muni was once deputed to test which personality has the mode of goodness in full. So Bhrigu Muni, what test he applied? He tried to intentionally provoke Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. And then he wanted to test who can withstand his provocation. So that was the test he applied, so that he could then understand who has the mode of goodness in full. So when he tried to provoke Brahma and Lord Shiva, they actually couldn't tolerate and they lost their, their calm and their composure. And Brahma, he provoked just mentally. Shiva, he provoked verbally. But Vishnu, instead of provoking Vishnu, he didn't provoke Vishnu just mentally or verbally. He provoked Lord Vishnu physically. Can you imagine? This is the highest provocation. Physical provocation is higher than provocation by thinking or provocation by or oral provocation. And when he did that, all the Brahma, Shiva got disturbed. Vishnu never got disturbed. In fact, when he provoked him, how did he provoke him? Bhrigu went and he kicked on the chest of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Imagine a Brahmana coming and kicking on the chest of Lord Krishna. How will you feel? And Lord Krishna said, he hurriedly got up from his seat and he said, I'm very sorry I did not welcome you. And he said that my chest is very hard and your feet is so soft. I think your feet would have gotten hurt by yours kicking on my chest. So please bring your feet, I would like to massage your feet because it has gotten hurt. And he said, I am so fortunate that today my palace, my kingdom has gotten purified because of the dust from your lotus feet, from your feet. You see, these were the kinds of work. So he totally tolerated it. So the example is given for toleration that if there's a small lamp, it'll be burning, a small flame will be there. And if there's a slight wind also, that lamp will waver. A small lamp, a small flame cannot tolerate even a small wind. But a big lamp, a sun, can tolerate even the biggest of the hurricane or the storm. A sun cannot get disturbed. So this is the kind of tolerating ability that we must all have. Krishna set forth this example, and as devotees we have to follow in the footsteps of Krishna. And there are so many places in the scriptures the importance of being tolerant is mentioned. We have the famous verse, Trinadapi Shunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadhari. If you want to chant Hare Krishna nicely, you have to be very, very tolerant. Tolerant like that of a tree. A tree is so tolerant. So there will be sometimes some pains, some difficulties, some rules, some regulations, but we have to take that. It is for our self-purification. Just like in summer, we all have to cook. Women have to cook. They cannot say in summer it's very hot, so I will not cook. It is painful. In winter, we have to take bath. So in the same way, all rules and regulations that we have in our spiritual life are meant to purify us. And for that, some amount of pain, some amount of difficulty we have to take, because that is purifying. So tolerance is something that will purify us, and we should not give it up. Whenever a situation, one's greatness can be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. So if a provoking situation comes in front of you and you can tolerate it, that is your greatness, not that you lose your control. Just like Lord Vishnu, a provoking situation came in front of him, but he could tolerate it, and that was his greatness. And that is the greatness of devotees also. Now there are two kinds of toleration we have to tolerate. One is to tolerate our pains and our difficulties, right? Some pain and difficulties inflicted upon you, you tolerate. The other is we have to tolerate. We are not very tolerant to others' happiness. If others are sometimes very happy, we also become very impatient and very intolerant. So we have to remember this. One is tolerating our own pains and difficulties, and also we should not become unnecessarily envious when someone else is in a happy situation. We should be very tolerant to them, rather we should help them. We should appreciate how good they are doing. Prabhupada, we were talking about tolerating pains and difficult situations. Prabhupada, I'll just end with this. He had an extraordinary ability of tolerating painful situations. Devotees recollect. So once Prabhupada, he had cut his toe, and somehow due to this cut his foot had become infected, and the foot had become very swollen. And devotees were recollecting his foot had become so swollen, and the wound had become infected, and it had become so swollen. They could actually literally see that Prabhupada was in pain. Anybody who would see a person with, could make out that he is in pain. In fact, devotees recollect just seeing Prabhupada was painful to us. So you can imagine how much pain it would have been for Prabhupada with that cut toe. So anyway, Prabhupada was tolerating, and then Prabhupada, he didn't expect some big service or ask his devotees to call some doctors and things like that. He just had his homemade preparation. He took some neem leaves and he crushed them and he grind them with some turmeric powder as an antiseptic, and he applied it with a banana leaf. He kept a banana leaf around his right toe, and then he couldn't sit also properly. It was actually painful for Prabhupada, but Prabhupada never expressed any pain. So he was just extending his leg. When he was sitting, he couldn't sit in his usual way. So he would extend his leg out and he was sitting like that, and devotees would come and see. And then devotees were saying that how tolerant Prabhupada was. Imagine if you have your right toe infected and the leg swollen up with so much of pain, what would your position be? Number one, whomever comes to meet you will tell them, yes, it's painful, it's paining a little bit, right? You will express your pain to others. Right? Number two, you'll not be able to walk because it's your right toe and your leg is swollen. And number three, at least your services will reduce, if not stopped. And devotees recollect that Prabhupada never once ever complained of that pain. And while he was walking, he was never limping and walking. He was walking gracefully, and his service, far from getting reduced, never stopped even a bit. So this was the kind of a tolerance power that Prabhupada had. And because why? Again the same thing. How we can tolerate difficult situation? When we are fixed in a higher truth. When we know we have a higher duty to perform. So that keeps us so much absorbed. Our consciousness is so full with that higher duty, with that higher service, that all these things become very small. It is nothing. It's like a woman, how she tolerates cooking in the summer. Because she knows she has to cook, everybody has to have food. That is very important. So for her, that small pain of going in the summers is nothing. So in the same way, we must always, tolerance is a very important quality. And whenever such provoking situations comes, if we are always fixed in our mind that life is very valuable to be spent over all these trifle things. I have to chant, I have to do my service, I have to follow Prabhupada's instruction. And why 24 hours? I can have even more time and still be full with my service. If that is there in our mind, then tolerance becomes very easy to practice. We'll end here. Vantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand.